Games like ICEwall are exactly why I run Higher Plane Games, because it's a game launched by a solo dev onto a populated Steam platform with zero fanfare, and it's drowned in its release because no one's talking about it. But it's a great game. I picked it up last week on release, delighted that I have done, and I want to talk about it because these are the games that deserve some love. ICEwall is an action roguelike shoot 'em up towards the bullet hell end of the spectrum when we're talking shoot 'em ups compared to casual, but not so bad that it's totally insurmountable. However, you have to play this game cautiously, and it's because where it's a roguelike, your health doesn't necessarily replenish unless you do very specific things. And so what you're having to do is to wait until the barrage of enemy fire kind of stops for a little mini gap, and then you duck in, make a couple of shots, and then duck back out again if you're playing against some of the harder difficulties or harder enemies. And that's because they love a barrage of fire, and that fire follows you around the bottom of the screen. So you have to be very careful about when you choose to fight back, because all it takes is a couple of wrong steps and you'll lose all of the life that you need for some of those later on bosses. The game plays really fluidly. It's very simple to just move around and shoot away, and it plays and gives you feedback like you're in a true 80s arcade. I love the graphical style for this game. It's like Intellivision and Atari had an affair in a disco. It works for me, but also what works is the soundtrack that comes with the game. I was expecting like retro chiptune, which is normally what happens with this stuff, or like some heavy hardcore techno, but this has gone for like a interesting symphonic pop. It's really odd, but it totally works, and I very much enjoy the soundtrack and the aesthetic and just the way how it all melts together. The key crux here, though, is what happens between the levels, and this is called the drafting phase. And depending on whether you've survived a level without taking any damage or not, depends on whether you get 3 or 4, get this, mini discs. Mini discs essentially are your upgrades in your draft phase, and each one has its own individual artwork, and they do spin around if you just leave them on in the menu and you're hovering over something. But they all come with their own perks, and sometimes drawbacks too if they're quite powerful. So sometimes it might increase the damage of your projectiles, it might change the projectiles to to bubbles or lasers, which have wider spheres of influence and can hit more. It could be that your weapon's fire becomes piercing, so it goes through an enemy to the next one behind it. It could be that you reduce down the damage of your projectiles, but you then go for a wider spread. It could be that you can replenish some of your health back again, but at the cost of the damage that you can do. So then it's kind of a risk versus reward factor. And there's about 60 or 70 different upgrades that you can choose from. Some are stronger than others, and they do have like upgrade paths that you need to go through to unlock some of the more powerful ones towards the end. But you still need to be skillful enough to have got there, depending on if you're taking the hit to be, say, more powerful but be less agile. Or you could be more agile, but then you've left not upgrading your weapons you've taken that opportunity off the table, so it then means that you're going to have to be nimble and precise. All of this plays into ICEwall so well, and it feels relatively well balanced with that constant I've got a challenge to overcome through ICEwall all the way through. Love the enemies. I love how ridiculous some of this is. There's like a horse running around on like hobby horse wheels. It's good fun. The end boss at the end is like a crazy wizard who has got staff and then like loads of lightning beams kind of coming down at you. And then the final boss that comes out at the end is actually someone that you can then play with once you've completed the game. So yay for that. All of these different ships that you come with have their own leaderboards with the different game modes that they come with too. So you've got like a practice mode, a normal mode and a hard mode, and then you've got like the ability to turn on and off those drafts, so you've got like a real purists mode if you really want it there too. I personally was a huge fan of the drafting phase of getting on all of those mini CD upgrades or mini disc upgrades, because that was where the personality of ICEwall really came in, and because it's always randomized every time that you play it, it feels like your choices matter and you get to build up your ship in different ways every time. This is a fun little niche game. Won't be for everyone, but if you enjoy a retro shoot 'em up, pop ICEwall on your wish list and look at getting it anytime soon. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Just be prepared for a bit of a challenge. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.